Hello, everyone, and welcome to Modern Skills in English. Today, we're talking about a feeling every student knows, the feeling of getting your work back and seeing it covered in red ink.
I just got an essay back. It's a mess, corrections everywhere. I spent a week on it, and my first thought was just, I'm not smart enough for this. I honestly just folded the paper and put it in my bag. I don't even want to look at it. Why does it feel so personal?
That's the real question, isn't it? Not why we make mistakes, but why the correction feels like a judgment. Most students believe the red ink is a score for their past performance, a final grade on their ability.
Yes, exactly. It feels like a grade on me.
But what if that red ink isn't a grade on your past at all? What if it's actually a guide for your future? The problem isn't the feedback. It's that we've learned to interpret it as a personal failure.
But it points out my failures. It literally shows where I failed.
It shows where the writing failed, not where you failed. And that's the first big shift we need to make. We believe our work is a reflection of us, so any criticism of the work feels like criticism of us.
It's hard to separate them. I wrote it. It came from my mind.
Let's try a different perspective. Imagine a professional chef is tasting a soup you made. She tastes it and says, "It needs more salt." Is she saying you're a bad person?
No, of course not. She's saying the soup needs salt.
Exactly. She is giving feedback on the product, not the creator. Her comment is completely impersonal.
Okay, so when my professor writes unclear argument on my paper, I should try to see it as the essay needs a clearer argument, not I am unclear.
Precisely. The feedback is about the text. It's data. If you can make the feedback impersonal, the feeling of shame starts to disappear. And when the shame is gone, you can actually learn. Because shame just makes us want to hide the evidence, not study it.
I definitely wanted to hide it. But even if I can look at it without feeling terrible, it's still overwhelming. There are so many comments, grammar mistakes, notes about structure, a question mark next to a sentence I thought was brilliant. It's just chaos. Where do I even begin?
This is the second barrier for most students. They see 10, maybe 15 individual corrections, and they feel paralyzed. They think they have to fix 15 different problems.
Right. It feels like playing a game where you fix one thing and another thing breaks.
The mistake is seeing them as separate problems. In reality, that list of 15 corrections usually points to only 2 or 3 larger patterns. Your job isn't to fix every single error one by one. Your job is to find the pattern.
What do you mean by a pattern?
You might have 3 comments about comma splices, 2 about run-on sentences, and 1 about sentence fragments. A student might see that as 6 different grammar failures, but a strategist sees one single pattern. I need to work on sentence boundaries.
So, group the problems together.
Yes, you need to distill the feedback.
Okay, so I could make columns. One for grammar, one for structure, one for argument, and I'd put each of the teacher's comments into one of those columns.
An excellent method. You distill all that chaotic red ink into a few clear categories. You might discover that all the notes about your introduction, your conclusion, and your topic sentences are really about one thing: structure. Suddenly, 8 problems become one big idea to focus on. It makes the feedback manageable.
So step 1 is to make it impersonal. It's about the essay, not me. Step 2 is to distill the comments into a few main patterns. That makes sense. But then what? The grade is already submitted. I can't change it. It still feels like I'm just looking at a list of things I did wrong in the past. It's a history lesson.
This is the final and most important turning point. Most students think feedback is a document about the past, but it's not. It's a set of instructions for the future.
How can it be for the future if the assignment is over?
Because the next assignment is coming, and the one after that. The feedback you just received is the clearest, most personalized guide to getting a better grade on the next paper. It is a diagnostic tool. When a doctor runs a test, the results are a diagnostic report. It tells you what to do next to get healthy. Your teacher's feedback is the same. It's diagnosing the weak points in your writing so you know exactly what to work on for next time.
So if my teacher writes, "The evidence in this paragraph doesn't support your claim,"
The old way of thinking is, I failed at using evidence. The new way of thinking is, okay, for my next essay, I need a checklist item. For every claim I make, I must double-check that my evidence directly supports it. The comment becomes a simple, practical rule for the future.
It's a bit like a cheat sheet for the next test, created just for me.
Exactly. It's a roadmap. You take the patterns you found and turn them into a simple checklist. Maybe your checklist for the next essay is just 3 sentences long. 1. Make sure every sentence has a clear subject and verb. 2. Start each paragraph with a strong topic sentence. 3. Read my essay out loud to check for flow. Those 3 rules came directly from the feedback on your last paper. You are using the old assignment to guarantee a better result on the new one.
This all sounds logical, Sarah. It really does. But what if the feedback is just bad? Sometimes teachers just write a single word in the margin, like awkward or unclear. That doesn't feel like a map. It feels like a dead end. How am I supposed to use that?
That is a fair and important point. Not all feedback is created equal. Sometimes the comments are too vague to be useful on their own.
So what do you do then? Just ignore it?
Not at all. You treat it as the start of a conversation, not the end of one. A comment like unclear is an invitation. It means the reader, your professor, is lost. Your job is to find out where they got lost.
You mean I should ask them?
Yes, that's what office hours are for. But you don't go in and say, "Why did you give me a bad grade?" You go in with the paper and you say, "I see you've marked the sentence as unclear. I want to make sure I understand why, so I can avoid it in my next paper. When I wrote it, I was trying to say X. Could you help me see where the confusion is?"
That sounds professional, not like a complaining student. You're asking for help to get better, not arguing about the grade. You're asking for the feedback to be more explicit.
Precisely. You are showing that you take their feedback seriously, but you need a little more explicit detail to act on it. This builds respect with your professor and gives you the information you need. No teacher will refuse a student who genuinely wants to improve.
So the system works even with vague feedback. You just have to do a little more work to clarify the instructions. Okay, so let's review the whole mental system. I get my paper back, covered in red ink. My stomach drops.
But instead of putting it away,
I take a deep breath and remember, first, this is impersonal. The comments are about the writing, not about me as a person. It's data.
Good. Then what?
Then I fight the feeling of being overwhelmed. I distill all the comments into 2 or 3 main categories, like grammar or argument. I'm looking for the big patterns, not the 20 tiny mistakes.
And the final step?
I treat those patterns as a diagnostic report. It's not a history of my failure. It's a specific, personalized checklist for my next assignment. It's my guide to improving.
And by doing this, you are building something incredibly valuable. You're building academic resilience.
Resilience, the ability to bounce back. So this isn't just about getting a better grade. It's about training myself not to be defeated by criticism.
That is the deeper skill. In university, in your career, in life, you will always receive feedback. People who see it as a personal attack become defensive and stop growing. People who learn to see it as a diagnostic tool become unstoppable. They have the resilience to turn every challenge into a lesson.
You know, it's strange. I'm looking at my essay again now here on the table, and the red ink, it doesn't look like anger anymore. It just looks like information.
And information is something you can use.
Something just clicked. The feeling isn't about the red ink itself. It's about what I was telling myself about the red ink. I was telling myself a story about being a failure, but I can tell myself a different story.
A story about learning.
Yeah, a story about getting better.
Hello, everyone. We hope today's conversation was helpful.
If there's a topic you're struggling with as a student or a feeling that's hard to put into words, please let us know in the comments. We read them all, and we'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, take care.